Our war against Hamas and terror and how we're confronting it reminds me of a truism that I often reflect on in life. I've come to see so often in life that our greatest strength is often our greatest weakness. The strength in certain areas is the source of our strength. That very same thing is a weakness in other areas. And I want to share it in the context of the war, both as Jews and as Westerners. You see, as Jews, I think the greatest teaching of the Torah, of Tanakh, of the Bible, is that every single human being is created in the image of God. We have godliness within us, tselem Elokim, the capability for good and God. And this is exactly the message that we see in this week's parasha, Parashat Pekudei, which finishes the whole book of the Exodus and completes the whole Exodus from Egypt, ending not, says the Ramban, with the giving of the Torah, but ending in this week's parasha with God's presence, the Shechina, resting in the Tabernacle. And says the Ramban, because this was the purpose of exile and redemption, not only to come out of Egypt, not only to receive the Torah as a one-time event on Mount Sinai, but that with us as the Jewish people and for humanity should be the Shechina, the presence of God. Because ultimately, just as the neshama, the soul, transforms the physical individual, so does the soul of the world, the Shechina, God's presence, transform our collective. That life is about good and God, to live not with instinctual and physical desires and drives, as important as they are, but with spiritual morality, with ethics and a desire for God and for good. That is our greatest strength, and that is our greatest weakness. Because you see, it has been so hard for us as Jews, because of this strength, to believe that other human beings are capable of the horrific things that have been done on Simchat Torah until today. Can we as Jews ever imagine that a society will steal human beings, not murder, torture, rape, all the horrific things that we've seen, but then barter in human life? In fact, this was the footprint of Amalek throughout the Tanakh, even though we know that Amalek as a people no longer exists. But the ethical behavior, the most unethical behavior of bartering in human beings, stealing human beings, and trading in them is the most desecration of human life and the godly soul, the most barbaric act that there is. And hence, our greatest strength of not believing that human beings are capable of this is exactly what we now need to confront. It's become our weakness because it is so difficult to accept such horrific barbaric acts. We as Westerners believe in the doctrine of live and let live. If you simply give people enough economic incentive, they will eventually live and let live, because don't people want to live and let live? That is true for us as Westerners. But we've come to see that there are many, such as Hamas, who want to murder and die. It's not about living and letting live. Life is not worth living if you can't murder those who oppose you, and if you're even prepared to kill yourself and sacrifice yourself on the altar of this barbaric desire to destroy all those innocent civilians and others who want to live and let live. And therefore our resolve has to be not to get morally confuddled and confused. Those of us who aspire to God and good, those of us who aspire to live and let live, have to confront with a singularity of purpose this evil, that it should not be a weakness. It is so disturbing. We have a son who's a hostage in Gaza, 134 people still in Gaza at this horrific time as bargaining chips for this barbaric regime. Ultimately, the most humanitarian act and the only pressure there should be, certainly from our friends, is the return of every single one of these hostages. What can be a greater desecration of everything that we stand for than the stealing of human beings, bartering in them and not returning them? The only pressure that there should be is on Hamas, by all of our friends especially, to release every single one of the men, women and children, young from Kfar Bibas to elderly octogenarians, should be returned before there is any discussion of anything going forward. And it has to be that the greatness of the Western world of living and let living, and the greatness of the Jewish people's vision for the world of God and good, needs to be used as a strength also in this area, to be single-minded against those who want hatred and darkness to triumph over love and over life. And please God, as the Shechina rests in this week's parasha, God's presence, we hope and pray that the goodness of God and the belief in the goodness of human beings should be, please God, be not only our greatest strength in regular times, but also in confronting the evil that confronts us in the world, and bringing every single one of our children back, and ensure that those who affirm life will indeed always triumph over those who celebrate death. Shabbat Shalom.